Hey guys, Komodo here. Welcome back to Watchers of Realms. We have a new face to the game, and the guy is Ash. If you guys haven't met Ash from Ray, then I don't know what you were doing. But if you're just playing Watchers and nothing else, then Ash has just made a channel, and he is in the game, and he's loving it. He is like a new player that we did a collab on his channel, and I thought for my channel, I'll give him a video that I had thoughts of making myself, but since I have somebody that can maybe pass on the knowledge and just pass the torch in the sense of you're gonna do much better than me if you know this from, let's say, day 5 or 1 week or so that you've been playing or more. I'm not sure, but if you have this knowledge, you do much better than I had instead of just learning it by yourself. I'm just gonna try and give you my best tips, and I think this list is, I'm gonna call it like the power boosting, the battle power boosting kind of tier list or list.
Ready, man.
And what this is all about is whenever you go into the game, you'll see, oh, the requirement for this to beat it is a battle power of 600,000. All right, what does that mean? Do I actually have to have 600,000? Well, the reality is you don't have to have that number exactly to beat that stage. And the reason is some heroes basically boost the power of your team by what they can do. They have something like maybe an attack boost, maybe like a defense down, and all those together just can multiply your potential of the team. So that's how I want this video to go. So welcome, Ash. Give us a little bit about your channel and how you see the game so far.
Yeah, Cold Brew, thanks so much for having me, man. I said this on when we just did a collab on my channel too, but first off, I'm freaking so hooked on this game, dude. I love it. I've been playing for about 30 days. I just hit my 30-day login, my legendary summoning soul. So I'm getting all the terminology with raid mixed with
It
this
happens to
game.
me so
I
often,
know.
yeah.
But I'm absolutely loving it so far. Yeah, I'm just enjoying making content. But to your point, I'm looking for those type of heroes as well that can like really make I guess a bigger impact on my team and just take things to the next level in terms of compounding what I've already put into my heroes that I've upgraded. But yeah, dude, I'm absolutely loving the game and loving your content as well. Definitely helped me a lot. I just found out that you had this channel because you don't advertise it on your
Nah,
raid channel.
not really,
Uh,
no.
but but now I binge like 3 or 4 of your videos in preparation, and I think it's amazing content. So thanks so much for having me on. I'm happy to be your guinea pig here as you go through some pro tips for me, bro.
Yeah, so this list is not going to be like a free-to-play list in the sense that everybody can have access to these immediately, but it's something to look out for. And the top in this list, in terms of something that once you get it, if you have the resources, invest in skill points, invest in the awakening stones that you'll get through the tide. Those you get, I think, every 10 levels or something. You can save them for now, but you'll eventually have so much use for them. So the one I wanted to talk about is the first one I wanted to talk about is the one and only Dolores. Okay, I'm not sure if you have her or
I
not.
do, I do, I do. I love my Dolores.
So you have an idea what I'm talking about. It's the
I do.
inspiration buff that she
Yes.
applies. It's the biggest buff from all heroes. I'm not even sure if legendaries have this, but I've been using her ever since I got her, and she gives a tremendous boost to the attack that she has to all of your heroes for the duration that she does this skill for. And it's just insane on thinking about having an extra 5,000 attack to your heroes just because you have this healer who is not really a healer. She's just a booster. You can't heal really with her. You don't
I've
focus on
realized
healing
that.
with her.
She,
Yeah,
I've realized she cannot heal. But
she
I do have a question about her, though. I mean,
sure thing.
I guess this is my role to ask you dumb questions, right, along the way. So, my thing is, so I love Dolores, right? Her impact on my teams, on my account, it's obvious. But one more niche question is when I'm using her, she has like a massive range
Mm-hmm.
radius, I should say, whatever. But
Yeah,
it's also kind of weird, right? It's also like
it's like a
it's a
it's
star type
almost,
cross
yeah,
thing. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So am I better off trying to have her overlapping melee units such as fighters and then like my best DPS, or am I better off just sticking her in the middle of all my ranged like DPS, and that's like and not worrying so much about my melee? It might be kind of a weird question because I'm sure it's
um
nuanced depending on the
I'm not
area, you know?
I'm not sure if you have any melee at the moment that might be worth. Do you have Wrath on your
Yes.
account? So yeah, so he's gonna benefit from her boosting him, and
Yep.
Wrath is
I have
huge.
Abomination and Wrath
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
So they benefit a lot from attack already. So they'll be doing way more damage because of that. So you kind of have to put her somewhere that she's gonna help both your ranged and the melee.
Okay.
Like in
Okay.
guild
Okay.
boss, you usually put her in the like either the left side, left corner, or the right corner. It depends on how you're gonna put every hero in there. But you try to get to put
Stack
everybody
as much.
bunched
Yeah.
up together to benefit from it. That's the strategy
Okay.
at the moment.
That's kind of that's my go-to. I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right. Thank you.
Yeah. So in a similar kind of theme is another hero who's not as strong, but it's another healer that does something along those lines, which is it's not attack boosting, but it's speed boosting, and it's this hero right here in the Pierces, Nande. All right, she does a bounce heal, which is kind of cool if you ever look at the graphics and how it works. It just bounces around, touches each hero, and it just goes on. It's cool to look at. But what she does is also applies an attack speed increase in all your heroes within the attack range that she has. Her healing is not that great. She's not the top healer. She's not as bad as Dolores in terms of healing, but she gives that attack speed boost. So if you don't have something like Dolores, you might think of Nisande as an alternative to give that attack speed boost to your heroes. And it's for a pretty cool duration that she gives that attack boost. I do use her. I'm not really thinking that she's better than Dolores. She's of course not better. Dolores is like number one, but she's good, a good alternative to consider if you're looking for that added thing that can give your heroes maybe that edge to push through to the next stage of, let's say, the campaign or something. So yeah,
Would you
definitely.
recommend taking her to 60, or should she just
No,
go
no,
to
I
50 and wait?
wouldn't
Yeah.
say. Yeah, I wouldn't say 60. 50 is fine with her, unless you
Cool.
really like that attack speed boost.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't say the same about Dolores because she gives a boost based on her own attack. So if she's higher level, she gets that promotion, but boost in terms of the attack that she has on the base. So it definitely is worth it. And again, on the same, I'm gonna keep on rolling with the healers, because all healers have their own thing. You'll see that in the game. It's like some of the healers have some buffs that they can provide, or others will just purely provide support in terms of maybe like a shield, but others will provide like a speed boost or an attack boost. And the next one is one I don't have. I would love to have. It's I think it's in the cultist. Let me see if I can find her. It's this one right here, Hollow. She's in the cultist. Yeah, I don't have her, but I know what she does. I haven't really experienced it myself, but everybody was telling me once you get Hollow, you can replace your Vortex for, let's say, the guild boss, and use Hollow for that one. So I'm in the same boat as you. I don't have her. I'm not sure if you don't have her, but I'm not using her for sure.
I have her.
Oh,
I
you
have
do?
her, but I'm not. I have not built her though. I've not built her, but
Yeah.
I saw the rage regen, and immediately I was like,
Yeah, you'll see on because this game it's not completely auto. You have those ultimates that you need to be doing at certain times. Let's say the guild boss or whatever you're trying to beat. Getting extra rage is something so good, because the ultimate just provide a huge burst of damage. Like whatever fighter or mage or a marksman that you might have, their ultimates usually do a tremendous amount of damage compared to what they usually do through their default skill. So getting your ultimate faster, the more ultimates you get, the better it's gonna be. So that is why she's in this list of the battle power boosters, as I'm calling it. And
I got a new question for you, Professor Cold Brew. New question. So that is, when building heroes in this game, and this is something that I still kind of struggle with, right? Is how to prioritize. I'm not used to having attack speed. I'm not used to having rage regen, like in the gacha games I played in the past, right? And then obviously I know that I want like crit rate and crit damage, obviously, and attack, right? So on like a random DPS mage or something, right? Like Iona or something. How do you prioritize rage regen versus DPS stats, like all the above, you know, the aforementioned?
So like a good example is Iona that you mentioned, because when she pops out her ultimate, she does like that burst of an AoE that looks so cool. So it's with more frequent attack. If she had higher speed, she would do more frequent attacks, so she would be doing more damage. Okay, I don't know the math behind it. I don't know exactly you have to have this amount of speed, but speed in general is worth it, but not as much as, let's say, crit rate or crit damage, which are the easier stats to consider, especially when you're starting out. And I'm still on the early part of developing my heroes where I can't optimize for speed yet. I can give them a little bit, but not as much as possible. Obviously, it's very hard. The gearing is it's like in Raid. The gearing is what really makes the difference. So rage region is something that you want to consider, but it's never gonna be something that you'll let's say focus on gearing on a mage. You'll have to get the rage region through skills of other heroes like supports like Hollow.
Okay. Okay, cool. Makes sense.
So again, following up on this one, rage region. This is a really cool hero that I've been playing around a lot, and it's called Laurel. Right? She is in the Esoteria order. Right? If I called it correctly, yeah, she's the green one. Green one over there. She is the most free to play in the sense of you don't really need to worry about skilling her up. Although her skills look cool and all, what you want to focus on is her talent. So she says, additionally, upon death, provide surrounding allies with a restoration of 50% of the rage cap upon death. So it boosts your rage cap. If it's 0, it boosts it to 50% immediately. So you basically have half an ultimate just like that because of her. And she doesn't have to die. You just recall her. You put it down the board next to, let's say, your mage or Dolores, and you just get her back. And immediately have cool almost trick. Like an ultimate. Yeah, it's a strategy. It's a strategy that you might want to consider. And I've done like a recent video on it where I was just placing her down, immediately calling her back, putting somebody else down on that spot, doing some damage until I'm able to just put her down again and pick her up. And that's like the strategy. It's really cool. It's an active way of playing a lot, but you only have to do it once, and then it's recorded, and you can repeat that stage. So you only have to do it once correctly. So that's cool. That's cool about her.
I love that. Do you find that as you approach the end game, do you consider yourself end game right now, Cold Brew?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you find that where you are right now, you're doing more and more, or the more you progress, let me put it this way, in this game, do you find that you're doing more recalling, like quite a bit during every battle, or no? Just does it depend?
No, it depends. It depends on the fights. But sometimes there's like maybe a campaign. I still haven't finished all the campaign. For example, it gets difficult, so you have to repeat it, and sometimes you'll have to consider recalling a hero because you see the arrow flying towards him, and you know that arrow is gonna kill him with one shot. You're like, oh,
I do that. That's about the extent of my strategy right now. It's like,
yeah, you know, if it works, it works. It's not stupid for sure. Yeah, it's I like this how different this is than Raid for sure, and how much
me too.
It makes you think differently, at least. So carrying on to this list, okay, since I called about getting this champion back from dying or something like that, Volka. Okay, Volka is a free-to-play hero that we all get through the hero's path, which is like missions we do, and she has a very interesting awakening one, which we all get again for free on Tide, which is part of the daily grind, I guess you can call it. And this reduces allies revival time by 25%. So if you think about Laurel that we talked about like a minute ago, this reduces Laurel's respawn time by 25%. So you use these two together basically, and it's a strategy where you also use Volka in other stages where the boss does just so much damage that you cannot keep anybody alive. So you recall them, and then after 30 seconds or so you drop them back into the board. And she just allows you to do some teams that wouldn't otherwise be possible just because she's there. And it makes, let's say, Gear Raid 2, which you'll see on how difficult that is later on, it makes that possible with 200 or 300,000 less than the battle power requirement.
That's significant, and that's powerful, man.
And she also yeah, it's tremendous. I didn't believe it at first. I thought, oh, it's impossible to get a copy of her, and then I saw that you get it for free through the Tide, and I was like, wait a minute, okay. On the
I've been
Tide, which
slacking
is
on Heroes Pack, man. I've been slacking on it, so I guess that gives me a reason not to anymore.
yeah, it's something that you're gonna do, and it's gonna be easy once you actually start working on it. So talking about her, she also has like a vulnerability that she can apply, which boosts the damage the enemies take, right? So I was thinking about that when thinking of making this video and thinking, okay, who else has this that is easier to use? And it's one of the epics we have in the game, and it's Mole. I don't know if you have Mole. It's like the shark looking
Don't
dude. I
have them all.
think
Yeah, I don't have them all.
you don't have Mole. He's in the northern throne. He is this guy right here. So he
Actually,
looks pretty
do I have them?
he looks pretty cool, and he has a huge range, can do like AoE damage, but why he's so good is because he can apply a defense reduction on enemies. And you won't consider that a lot, but on enemies that have very high defense, you need anything that helps you push through and do as much damage as possible. So this guy having it on every single basic attack that he's doing, just applying a debuff, because there's no like resistance in this game or accuracy. You don't have to consider that. You just need to apply with your default skill. He can do that, and he can also potentially either knock back or freeze with his ultimate ability, which helps you last a little bit longer in the sense of keeping the enemies away from your portal, and maybe even achieving that 3-star completion. So that's another thing to consider, like having sort of crowd control or additional defense down to get you through that stage that might have a much higher battle power requirement.
I do have them all actually, so maybe I'll go ahead. I have two questions though
Yeah,
for you. Number one,
yeah,
cost is pretty pricey. It's 22, right?
yeah.
So two things. One is on the cost. I mean, how much do you factor in costs and in terms of overall hero value? I know it's a difficult question because it's going to depend on what they're doing, right? But
Yeah,
like that's pretty pricey for a marksman.
yeah. Sometimes it's one of the priciest marksmen in the game for what he really does, and he becomes better if you have Awakening 5. But that is a big ask for many players out
Oh,
there. A big ask. I
yeah,
don't even have him myself at Awakening 5, but I know he's gonna be much better at that point. But when I see that high cost, I try to use other strategies. Maybe put something else down on the board first, and then put this guy down, because I
yeah.
know he's so expensive to put down that I need something there to occupy the the attackers before I have to worry about something else. And this guy can be placed a little bit later on, but sometimes, thank you for that lead on to the next one. It's gonna be cost
Well,
generators.
one more question. One more
Ah,
quick question for you.
okay.
That is, he has a defense minus 10%, right? Defense reduction. So
Right,
I'm
right.
used to raid where everybody's either got a 30 or a 60% defense reduction.
Yeah,
And this might be putting you on the spot here because I know it feels like, and we spoke a little bit about this on my channel as well, but it feels like every hero is so specific in this game. There's
yeah, it
not,
is.
it's not similar to raid in that regard where like there's only two debuffs, a strong and a weak version. That's it. It feels like it runs the gamut here. But I say all that to say, is 10% defensive reduction good? It doesn't sound like
It's
much. I mean, it's better than nothing. Don't get me wrong, but
it's 10%, then it goes to 15 if you skill it up, and
yep.
it's not the best. No, I think I would gladly be corrected, but I think there's a 30% defense reduction in the game, from what I
Okay.
recall. But it's at least something that is accessible through an epic, so it's very nice for a player
And
out
it's
there
a lot of,
who,
yeah, and it's
yeah,
better than nothing.
yeah,
Gotcha,
and
gotcha.
it helps a lot. And yeah, going into the next point, because I don't want to keep you here forever, is cost. So you mentioned the 22 cost that he has. Okay, you use
Yes.
heroes like Narvi, or my personal favorite, I think, is Cyrene. I had her from, like, I think day one that I got her randomly. I was like, what is she even doing? And then I read actually put in the time to read what she does on her ultimate ability, which says restores 12 cost immediately and
Wow.
applies crit rate increase. So 12 cost she restores, but her cost is 11. So the longer you can have her on the board, the better it's going to be for you to drop in those big units that have a high cost that you wouldn't otherwise be able to put them as quickly. And then this is a strategy where you put cost generators down. She's in that well, tag, I would imagine being called. So cost region you see here on the top. There's many other heroes like Narvi. There's some even on commons that do it with a lower cost. They give you a little bit less back, but she has that, and it's like a strategy that you can use to bring in those big units quicker than you would otherwise, and maybe give you that edge where battle power is not where you would be able to, you know, have the edge, right? So you put in those big units immediately, get the ultimates up, have them ready before you would otherwise, and get going and finishing the stage.
So for Cyrene and even to an extent a hero like Dolores, should they be, to your point, should they be one of the first heroes that I drop, or maybe like my main DPS, or if I need a main melee given the stage? Should they, you know, like how do you go by like order on heroes like that?
Like with Cyrene,
Yeah.
I would usually try to put her down immediately because I know maybe the enemies will come the next 5 seconds or so. So I might have time to drop in another unit before they get to her. Because I don't usually build them out too much. I build them maybe with there's this set that you start out. I think it's called the cost set or whatever. It's this one, the rapidity set. So this reduces the cost. Yeah, it's one of the first sets that you get. It's barely any gear on her, but this reduces her cost to 10, and then she gives back 12. So already I'm at a big advantage. I don't care about the other stats on her because I know I'll recall her soon enough. So it's like one of these strategies that you can do, and with Dolores that you gave the like the example of, I like Dolores after I put in a DPS, so I kind of have to have a strategy in my head to place them around her so that everybody gets a benefit.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. The next one I wanted to talk about, we're finishing soon, don't worry. It's Komodo.
Yeah, I'm loving this, man. I'm loving this. Yeah.
It's Komodo. All right. Komodo is a fusion. Well, he's not a fusion hero. He's needed for a fusion, I think. No, you can actually fuse him. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about the other one. So this guy you can make if you have these parts. So Cuke, this guy Drogo, whatever. If you have these, you can make this guy. This is a really good hero that does something very specific for the guild boss, which is where you get lots of rewards every day, right? This guy is so good because he applies this specific debuff called Bleed, which is a % damage dealt on to the enemy plus physical damage taken boost. So he not only does that 1% every second, but he also does, everybody does more physical damage to the target. So it's one of those debuffs that you kind of have to have if you can on the guild boss or big targets, like with high amounts of health, like bosses on campaign stages, or maybe even some of the rifts. So this is like a huge debuff, and this is your way of accessing it, is to actually fusing these heroes together. It's quite easier than other things that you can do, and it's something that you can consider for when you are unlucky maybe, and you need that extra bit of boost to, let's say, your guild boss damage.
Great. No, I'll definitely. I think I got lucky and I just pulled them, so maybe I'll definitely build.
Yeah. Well, the thing with this game is that you can also use awakenings and make them stronger and get access to other stuff. So
that's true.
You might even consider multiple fusions for him, since he doesn't go away. The next thing I wanted to talk about is heroes like Mari. Okay, Mari is freeze hero. I think you get her for free the first couple of days. If I remember correctly. I think we mentioned it in your video, I think the day 3 or something. And day 3, yeah, she's a really good control hero. And the reason that I like her is because you can stall out the fight until the right time, until your heroes maybe be able to take in one enemy at a time instead of both enemies at the same time. So you slow them down, you freeze them also, and you also apply vulnerability to magical damage, so they take in more damage because of her. And her cost is very low. It's like 13. She doesn't do damage herself really, but you want her there for the control and the debuffs that she applies.
Yeah, I was saying on my video that we recorded that I got her day 3. I built her to like, I don't know, 40 or 50 or something.
Yeah.
And then I was just like this super noob mistake, right? I didn't even take the time to actually read the kit or anything like that. I'm just like, oh, a mage that doesn't do damage, forget it, like. So I just had her sitting there on the sidelines, and it wasn't until later. I think it was like, I don't know. I think Gear Raid. I don't even know if this is like her best use case, but Gear Raid 13, Gear Raid 1 on stage 13, I couldn't beat it because I just couldn't do enough. Like, they were doing too much damage. They were breaking through those walls or whatever, And then I put her in, and she was the solution for me, just biding me enough time to do for everybody else to do more damage. So I slept on her hardcore. She's been a game changer.
Yeah, she's huge for that Gear Raid 1. I think she's even used in the later parts, like even 19, 20, 21. There's definitely a use for her because
it's awesome for a champion you get on day 3,
Yeah, she does a lot of control, and it cannot be underestimated. That big freeze. I don't think there's another hero in the game that does such a big freeze, and that you also get for free, and plus all the other things that you can do.
Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah, and finally, the final point, which is the most obvious one, I left the most obvious one for last, is the Lord bonuses that you gotta take advantage of. It's difficult, I know, to get a Lord. It's very difficult. We all get one for free though, for sure, guaranteed, no doubt about it. And it's this one right here. It's Wrath, yeah. We won't talk about Wrath specifically, but what his Lord bonuses do is tremendous. So you might want to consider always having a Lord in your team if you can, to take advantage of either the basic attribute bonuses, which can be huge for heroes like maybe Dolores, if you have the same faction, or if you have the same faction as this guy, then you put in other heroes to give the extra speed specifically for this Lord bonus. But what you really need to remember is that some rares even are Lords, so you might be picking up rares and selling them immediately for that 30 gems, but you should be keeping them. Like an example is this guy. I think they gave this guy for free.
Yeah,
he's like
free.
He's a Watcher Lord, so you get him for free, and he gives a little bit of a boost to your stats, 5%, but he also boosts the healing multiplier by 10%, which helps healers do more heals and
damage too.
Yeah, obviously it's something that you have to consider whenever you see that a little crown on top of the faction there. Just keep in mind to keep a copy of that, just in case you need it for especially the faction trials. It's gonna help you tremendously to push in there.
I have one final question for you then. I have let me tell you her name because I don't remember it, but I have a Lord, another epic Lord, and I don't think she's bad. It is Aeon, A-E, cultist.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's like super good or super bad or whatever. She does have good debuffs. She has an interesting passive or ultimate where she pulls everybody into her vortex or whatever. But the truth is on my account I have better options. So that's the question. Would it be better to go with to like force her into the team, so to speak? Because if I'm only running one Lord otherwise, or like, I guess I'm having trouble kind of judging the value over replacement to have a Lord or to have no Lord and run better heroes,
Well, if you have no heroes that would benefit from that, even if you don't place her down on the field, if you don't have, let's say, Iona, which I doubt many people don't have her. She's like $5, I think, pack.
Okay.
So if you can have those two together, then Iona will benefit a ton from that, because she applies the slow, and then the faction bonus, I think it's more damage if the enemy is slowed, so more damage by 20%. So she's gonna benefit even if you don't place this champ down. It's just gonna benefit Iona. But if you have two other heroes that are gonna work better, just put those down. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
that's. I think it's trial and error for most, as are
it's
most things, you know. Yeah.
honestly you'll see this if you're pushing campaign or something. You'll see how many times that the trial and error is gonna come out more than, oh, let me see if there's a strategy for beating this stage.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
is just,
Yeah.
oh, restart
But it
over
feels
and over.
so good when you pull it off, man. That's the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
part, you know?
that's the best
Like
part.
after restarting 20 times and you're just like, I got it, you know, especially when you didn't think you could. It's not, no better feeling in this game, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you, man. Thank you a lot for standing me for about 30 minutes now, just
Yeah,
rambling
man.
on and giving my talk about the 10 most beneficial battle power boosters or whatever. I'll find the title, guys. I'll find the title. Um,
Nah,
thank you,
dude, it's
Ash.
been
Thank
super
you,
helpful,
Ash.
man. I appreciate all the advice and the tips, and it wasn't boring at all. And it was, you know, it's me who should be thanking you. So thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely do it soon.
All right.
Thank you all for watching the video. I'll put down links for Ash's channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.